What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam. This is Vancity Audi. This video is taking place inside my RS3 because that's what this video is going to be all about. Why the heck have you guys not seen any content on my RS3 for the past 4 months? It's actually longer than 4 months now that I think about it. I'm going to give you guys an inside scoop on what has been happening at Unitronic headquarters, at the Turbo Engineer headquarters, and why I do not have a tune yet for my TTE855 Turbo. So before I get into any of this, I need to state two different things for you guys before I get into that explanation of what's transpired over the past 4 months. Number one, whose fault is this? None other than the guy you're looking at. I have to go back to the basics on this one and what got me into this in the first place. I've preached for people for years. Don't strap a turbo on your car unless there's software to back it up. I broke my own rule. You can't get much more stupid than that. If I wouldn't have installed that piece of hardware, I would be racing right now. I would have 2 race days under my belt already for 2022 with that TTE855 I was using. But because I get all amped up and excited and thought I was going to have a tune right away and there wouldn't be any delays, everything was going to work perfectly, which we all know never happens, I'm missing out because I put on hardware without software. There was no calibration made by Unitronic. Yes, they said they were willing to do it, but they didn't have anything sorted, so I never should have put on the hardware before the software. That's number one. Number two, I'm not an employee of Unitronic. I am not an employee of the Turbo Engineers. I am simply a customer. I'm just an extremely passionate customer. Someone who always tries to get the absolute most out of their vehicle. So you could say I'm a little crazy when it comes to this stuff. Obsessive is an even better word. So that's why I do what I do on this channel, to kind of share my knowledge and what I've learned with the software and the hardware that I use so everyone can learn and grow from it. Hoping that people get better performance out of their car is truly what I do this for. It's really inspiring for me when I get messages from people on Instagram and on Facebook saying they copied my exact build because I was able to prove without a doubt that setup worked extremely well. That's the coolest thing to know, that I inspired them enough through my videos to make them want to copy my build. That's freaking awesome. And I thank you all for sending me those kind of messages. It means the world to me. That's a little off topic. I don't work for either of these companies. I use their parts. I use their tunes. If I make mistakes through this video of what exactly transpired over the past 4 months, I hope that Unitronic and TTE will watch this video and they can comment in the section below about things that I may have got wrong throughout this explanation. 4 months is a long period of time. I'm an extremely busy person. So I got a lot going on in this pea-sized brain of mine. And if I get something wrong, I'm hopefully thinking that they can get it right. But I'll do my absolute best. So let's dive into what has taken place over the past 4 months and what's been happening behind the scenes on why I do not have a tune yet for my TTE855. So let's get into this story. If I fumble along the way, my apologies. I'm going to try to do this in one take to not take up too much of your guys' time, but to give you guys a thorough enough explanation on what happened. So over 4 months ago, we installed the TTE855 Turbo on my RS3. If you guys missed that video of the install, I go through the differences of the 855 and the 777, and the main difference of it being a larger actuator that allows for more travel of the wastegate versus the 777 and the 700 Turbo from TTE that use the OEM actuator, standard travel of the wastegate. So once we had that on the car, Unitronic had their own, and they put their 855 on their TTRS shop car, and they got to work. And once they started dialing it in and they started ramping up the power, they noticed that they were working the port injectors too hard. And now those are the upgraded 980cc, I want to say. I think that's what they are. That Unitronic sells, that iRose sells, that tons of different companies sell now, to run stage 2 software at an E85 level on RS3s and TTRSs. That's what I used to be using. And they were pushing them too hard. So they said, you have to upgrade your injectors. And those are ID 1300s, I believe. And that's what we've installed. And stay tuned to the channel. That install is coming. And past that, they had a tune. We were like, sweet, let's rock and roll. They spent the time dialing it in, put the injectors on the car. Install went well. Tuned the car, and we thought we were good to go. So I started out with a pump gas tune. And I went out to the back roads of Mexico and I did my logging. As I always do, you never take a beta file and you go race, you log first. And what I was seeing is it was overboosting and then overcorrecting and overboosting and overcorrecting. And I sent all the logs to Unitronic and they're like, whoa, what the hell's going on? This can't be right. So conversations were had with TTE between myself, between Unitronic, and between a ton of other calibrators around the world saying, I don't think this actuator is going to work for an off-the-shelf tune, a calibration that a lot of different people can use. It doesn't have to be dependent on hardware. Like you can have 5 of the 6 bolt-ons available on the turbo and it'll still work well, kind of software. That's what the off-the-shelf software is nowadays. It's not the archaic thought of off-the-shelf software, which is crap and everyone can use it, but you're only getting 80% of the performance. Nowadays, Unitronic has proven over and over again their OTS software is some of the best in the world. Some of the quickest and the fastest RS3s and TTRSs, now that I think about it, I think the quickest and the fastest, using a stock ECU. Most of those cars are using Unitronic software. And all of those cars, or 95% of them, are using Unitronic TCU software as well. So it's a different state of mind these days with OTS software versus what it used to be. So a lot of people were just, this isn't going to work. You have to have like a list of parts, and you have to have these 10 parts, and then you have to have the turbo, and that's the only way the turbo is going to work on this software. And that's not what we're all about. I shouldn't say we. I should say Uni and all the other companies out there offering OTS software. You need to be able to put on the software and things will adapt and change, but your turbo will still work well. That wasn't the case. So what ended up happening is that was all given back to TTE, and this is our findings. And TTE said, you know what? We're going to come out with a new actuator then. We need to make this work so everyone can make software for it, and it doesn't require custom, one-of-a-kind software for each and every car using that turbo. If you guys have seen, there are a handful of 855 custom-tuned cars out in the wild already. I've seen them on Facebook. For the most part, they're running quite well. I don't know what software they're using, but I've seen them and they've advertised, so I know they're out there. So it does work on custom tune the way that it came from TTE originally. But they wanted to make it so everyone could make a tune for it. So they came back and said, you know what? We're going to do a second revision of the actuator, and we're going to test it out. We're going to see how it works, and then we'll get that back out to you. So in the meantime, I'm waiting, Unitronic's waiting, and everybody's kind of waiting for this to happen. But TTE is not just trying to figure this out for the very, very minute amount of people that are wanting to run a TTE855 on their RS3 and their TTRSs. Everyone needs to understand that the Turbo Engineers is a freaking massive company that makes turbos for tons of different cars, not just RS3s and TTRSs. So they have a lot on their plate, not to mention supply issues all around the world from the stuff that happened with COVID that's still affecting us to this day, that is causing delays on a lot of different things in that world, that manufacturing world. So they tried out the first actuator, changed the wastegate travel, and we saw a video, and it made it a lot more sensitive. That's the best word I can come up with. If Uni and TTE chime in, they might have a better, more technical term for it. But when you were on gas and when you were on boost and you saw that, you saw a lot more linear and more responsive. That's an even better word, responsive wastegate, which is what you need for a daily driven car, which a lot of people, if not everybody, is going to use this 855 for. Just kind of weird guys like me that only drag race with their cars. We're a very, very small percentage. So they need it to work for everybody. So that was looking really promising. And I believe they went to test it and they still weren't happy with it. It wasn't to the point that they wanted it. So they're on revision number 2 from what I know. And number 2 is being tested right now at a shop in Europe that they trust and they've worked with in the past to make sure that that actuator and that wastegate is where it should be. So people can use a variety of parts in a variety of climates. Doesn't have to be warm all the time, doesn't have to be cold all the time, and it'll adapt to those conditions and still work. Because that's what an OTS tune is, and we've seen them work really well for multiple companies, especially from Unitronic. So that's where we're at right now. I think that sums it up. I may have missed a few things here and there, but I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time because this is just an update video. So that's it. We are waiting for a tune. It's no one's fault but mine. If I would not have put this turbo on my car without software already done, I wouldn't be in this situation. So, such is life, guys. You make mistakes sometimes, and I made one. I'm learning from it. We all learn, as long as I don't do this again. So yeah, Unitronic never provided me a timeline. They never said to me, we'll have you a tune in 2 months. It was never, they said, yeah, we're willing to make a tune for you. Sweet! TTE, yeah, we got this sick turbo, and it's proven to work already, so it works. It's just you need a custom calibration for it, and that's not what I'm all about. This channel was built off of the fact that I really enjoy using parts and tunes that everyone uses. There's nothing custom about my calibrations. There's nothing custom about the hardware that I purchase from these companies. We may modify it further, and we show you guys that on the channel. We may deck out the car with different mods here and there, but I go through all of them with you. So I don't do anything custom pertaining to the tuning I'm using or the turbo I'm using from the turbo engineers. So hopefully, within the next few weeks, within the next couple months, I'm not sure, but we will get a tune from the Unitronic family, team, whatever you want to call it, company. And you can't put a timeline on it, no matter what you do, because stuff comes up, and they are also a massive company which has a ton of different platforms that they make tunes for, they make hardware for. We're not the only ones, and I'm not the only guy. I'm a very, very, very small percentage of the customer base that Unitronic has. So they got to take care of everybody, not just us, the small little group of, I'll say, 50 to 100 people that have these 855s in the wild saying, damn, when's that tune going to come out? It's my bad. I apologize to all of you if I have misled you by putting a turbo on my car and you guys thought, well, Adam's doing it. That must mean the tune's right around the corner. I never want to ever deceive any of you that watch this channel. I always try to be as completely honest, as transparent as I can in all my videos, regardless of whether I'm showing you guys data logs or the performance gains, the dyno testing. It's all as honest as I can possibly make it. There's only that 5% of information that I keep to myself, that I share with Rider Performance, that we dial in the car as best we can so I can try to set world records in the cars that I own. Besides that, 95% of the information's in my videos and on social media for you all to find. I think that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you so much for watching. It may have been a long-winded video, but I hope that provides you guys as best an explanation as I can give you guys on what's been happening over the past 4 months with this delay on my Unitronic tuning for my TTE855 turbo from the Turbo Engineers. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.